Okay, good evening, everybody. This is the Community and Social Development meeting starting at 6:30. Thank you very much for coming, everybody. Apologies for absence, Ian.
Francesca only, Chair.
Will be joining us.
Looking like next. Okay, thank you. Declarations of interest, anybody? No? No. Okay. Election of a vice chair and appointment of co-opted members. Would anybody like to put themselves forward as the vice chair of the committee?
I don't mind, Chair.
Ian, do you want to be vice chair? Okay. Can we take a vote on that then? Tim, are you there?
Yes.
Those in favour of Sarah as chair, would they opposite? Passed, okay, thank you. Hello, Tim.
Hi, Tim.
That was an important vote.
The only co-opted members we've had before are the skaters, Tomsk and Jono, it would be now, wouldn't it?
They haven't made any, have you heard anything from them?
Well, Tomsk has got a broken ankle, so we're in touch with him. I suggest that we co-opt them on, just in case, if that's all right. And then if they want to be unco-opted, we can unco-opt, but let's get them on the books just in case something comes up and we need them here.
They have been standing members for a number of years,
Yes,
in my recollection.
4 years at least, they've been co-opted members.
Whether they'll want to
Are they-
continue after the skate.
Sorry, are they members of the steering committee?
No. Oh, but MSA has been
NSA is.
I've been invited to join again.
The steering committee.
Yeah.
Given the fact that the steering committee is obviously going to take on much of the role for the skate park, is there?
I would think not in the way that they could advise on different issues. It's mostly to do with the budget and the steering committee, isn't it? Getting everybody involved with that.
Okay. But I have no objection to them being co-opted.
What do you think?
I'm not sure if they'll want to now that the skate park's opened, but I think it's worth asking. It seems a bit rude not to.
So do we co-opt them or do we just leave them as part of this? I would like to co-opt them and they can opt out if they want to.
So that's Ian Thompson.
Ian Thompson and John Atkins.
Certainly have no objections to them being co-opted in
Problem, Chair, and them being co-opted later on in the time when we find out.
Well, we don't know what's coming up. I'd rather get whoever wants to be co-opted on and they can opt out or we can do something about it rather than then struggling to the following month and the following month if we miss the week and goodness knows what.
Yeah.
So it's an easier option to get them co-opted on. Hello, Rhian.
So I would propose that we continue that arrangement, that they're co-opted back on. Obviously pending their acceptance there.
Okay, thank you. So the names are Ian Thomas and Jonathan Atkins. Those in agreement are being co-opted on? Sorry, and you didn't catch up. We just putting through the two skaters who have been co-opted onto this committee for the last 4 years. We've re-co-opted them, even though they might be on the steering committee, because we just don't know what's going to pop up. If they object, we can then co-opt, but I'd rather have them in the frame just in case we need them straight away.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah.
Can I just clarify something? Would you like me to email them or would somebody else write to them? How would you like them being approached in terms of?
We've got emails for them.
We've got emails for them.
Shall I do that?
Yeah, it's probably best if you do that, Ian, as staff.
Yeah.
Yes,
Fine.
agreed.
I'll do that.
Agreed.
Thank you. And I'll get their emails from you, Sarah. Is that okay?
They probably are fine,
Thank you.
because they've been emailed as part of the group before. Any problems, just let us know.
Thank you.
Yeah, any problems, Ian, I've got their email addresses, so I can send them to you.
Thank you, Paul.
And the skate park, Ian and I have talked about this. We put things down in very general terms because it's, as we said, the last meeting we had was June, and only this Ian and I were here. And
hello, I'm sorry to interrupt. In the main hall, the theatre group, one of the lights has been left on, and I'm not sure how to turn it off.
Okay.
So,
At the end of our.
so
We'll sort that out.
thanks very much.
Thank you. Thank you for letting us know.
So we left it general agenda because it was in June the meeting, Scott and I were here and we weren't for it. July we couldn't get a meeting, August we were off, so we're here now. So in general terms about the skate park, is there anybody that would like to say anything? I can tell you that there's a skate park steering committee now that has been organised that has 13 different members, I think it is, from different members of the community. We've got to get them together because there are things that we need to put in place to comply with lottery funding rules. I'm afraid that we didn't realise how things had slipped when our dear clerk suddenly died, and we didn't know what pieces to pick up. He was the one who would have guided us on this. So Kerry is now picking it up, and she's got things firmly in hand. We've had one meeting of the steering committee. There's another one due next month, with key members coming together. We need to do things like do consultations. Do you want to pick this up? Sorry, you're better than I am.
Yes, we've got to do consultations. We promised the lottery that we would actually get into the schools and offer training, safety training on skateboarding. So I think Kerry's got that firmly in hand. She's going to get in touch with Exist, who have offered help before and do this kind of thing all the time. I think Kerry mentioned getting in touch with, what did Kerry mention getting in touch with? I can't remember.
If I could explain, Kerry's not here this evening because she's had to go to hospital. I was relying on Kerry being here. She's hurt her wrist from Saturday. She would then could give us chapter and verse on what's happening, but apparently she's hurt her wrist, so Kerry isn't here. So I would have been handing over to the clerk at this point for the clerk to inform you properly on what's going on. So sorry about that.
But it's all in hand. And
As you can imagine, with Kerry, it's all very much in hand. So that's where we are with the steering committee at the moment, to fulfil every obligation that we said we would fulfil for the next tranche of the money to be pulled down. Phil?
It's been a while since I've been down there. Is that bottle filler connected now, Pam, and functioning?
I don't know. I don't know.
Anybody shed some light? Tim, have you filled
I've been there recently and it wasn't. I was there a couple of weeks ago. I think there's a problem. I think there's a problem with World Water.
With all the problems. They said we want to contact a few weeks after we had the skate jam. So they did promise it would be done a few weeks after that.
Ask Paul if they've been paid.
Yeah, we had to pay them up front. They wouldn't even turn up before we paid them. I have noticed that the road has been dug up, and there seems to be a pipe just on the edge of the grass, just on the other side of the curb. So it looks to me as if Welsh Water have done their bit. What I'm not certain of is whether the connection from the say from the pavement or the curb line to the bottle filler has been completed. That's something that Lydia was arranging, but she's off this week, so I can make inquiries with the plumbing company.
Thank you, Phil.
If I recall, the company that a company have already installed the pipe work from the roadside to the water fountain. That was installed within a week or two of the skate park having its opening, as it were, the soft opening, as it were. So back in February. The concern is that little blue pipe ball is sticking up 100 yards away from where they were originally told the little blue pipe would be connected.
All right, okay.
And that would be down on Welsh Water then for not having put it in the they had informed it would be.
Okay. What I'll do is I'll speak to that company, because I do need to speak to them about the bottle filler in the castle, because I noticed on Saturday that it's leaking. So I'll contact them tomorrow and raise those two issues.
Thank you, Paul. Anybody?
Before we move on,
Yeah.
please. With regards to the steering group, is this committee going to be given the information as to what's happening, what's going on, what's being discussed?
Yes, of course. If
Kerry's
Kerry being
is
here.
clerk to that group, so she will be writing the report.
She was left with a pile of phone calls she was going to
Mm.
make, and then she was going to come back with all the.
So the clerk will be reporting to this meeting on what's happening with the steering group.
Just to clarify Ian's point, is that a subcommittee of this, or is this
It's not a
steering
subcommittee.
committee? So, as a steering committee, probably report to full council?
I think, I don't know.
Well, we'd have no problems with reporting it back here as well, would we?
But certainly the clerk is the reporter for that committee. We're just members of the committee and she's clerk, so she takes the lead on it.
It's not technically a subcommittee, but we are interested in its work.
Absolutely, it's not a subcommittee.
Well, I think this committee needs to know what the steering group are doing.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Whether she wants to report to us or full council, I don't know. We haven't, it's only because we only had one meeting and we were sorting out, that's an issue we should need clarifying, you're right. You're right. Who does steering
Well spotted there, Ian.
committee?
Well, you know, it's a huge, it's terribly important, the steering group business.
Well, yes, as we said, Kelly would be.
Next week from the lottery.
Yeah,
We're gonna go.
if it
Look
helps,
a little bit awkward.
if it helps, I can just say quickly what I put down in the notes from the steering group. It won't be a fraction of what Kerry had.
No,
We had the Grange School, we had John Webb, the new head teacher, Jackie Rees Thomas, who's a specialist on play, Helen Hunter from the Linden Centre, Carrie, who obviously filled in the forms for the grant, Caroline, the head of Oyster Mouse School. Sorry, do you want me to go a bit slower?
no, I'm not, I'm writing
Okay.
something else down, it's all right.
Yeah, so we had 4 points to cover, the evaluation, the building use and the numbers, so that's something we have to do.
Yeah, I wasn't meaning that. I think it's important that everyone knows
Oh, yeah, definitely.
what the requirements of the lottery are
Yeah,
and what the conditions
yeah,
are.
these were
and
the
how they are
requirements.
implemented. That's my concern.
Again,
Yeah.
Kerry would have had all of that ready for this
So
evening.
this was exactly what.
Sorry, sir, I would like you to finish those.
Yeah,
four
and the
points.
last one-
I think that answers your question.
Yeah, the PCSOs as well, we need their feedback on the skate park, so they're going to come to the next
So
meeting.
that's police feedback. Yeah,
Yes,
numbers using it,
yeah,
community inclusion
yeah,
and the safety aspect of training up, which is something that was.
I passed on Kate from Exist's phone number to Mary, and she said she will get on.
She was
to her.
contacting me.
I was, yeah.
So, as I said, if Kerry had been here, everything would have been explained perfectly, I'm sure. So, okay, The next general heading is Anthony Hill Park. I don't even know where people want to start with this, where do they want to go with it? Is there anything we can possibly discuss? Is there nothing we can discuss? I don't know.
Well, we had the steering group's been set up since, hasn't it, since our last meeting?
Yeah, there's a working group.
So the working group.
Working group, steering group, whatever, and
I propose we
There's
just
a reference
start
to the
the,
working group, is it different from the steering group? Does it answer back to?
I think the Underhill.
We had a letter, we got an email from Kerry.
until Will Thomas gets here and you can ask him then, because he's on the.
He's on it.
Did everyone have the email from Kerry that was passed on from a person at Underhill? Did you all have that email?
No, I don't think I did.
Okay,
May have done, but I can't recall it.
then we'll leave that for the moment, I think.
So defer that point. move
Yes,
on,
please.
Come back to it.
Langland Tennis Courts. Well, lots to take here. I think I was buttonholders that came out of Marks and Spencer's this week with complaints about youngsters swinging on the tennis nets. A plea that we put a gate on it, and they pay to go in just to try and look after the tennis courts. There's that. So that's the tennis courts. I don't know whether the basketball comes under that, but there's been so much vandalism done to the basketball courts as well. But
Well, the net
really
is unbelievable. I was there on.
tennis net or basketball net? Tennis net or basketball net?
Basketball court.
Basketball.
Yeah,
It's shocking.
I raised that at the end of August. Swansea Storm took it upon themselves to, they're one of the users, obviously one of the stakeholders, I think, were in the community. And they took it upon themselves to replace one of the rings and the nets themselves, which, you know, we can only thank.
It's in place last weekend, I was there.
That's right, which is obviously meant that it can be continue to be used. And it's lovely to see the fact that, you know, there are people there who love that facility so much that they're, you know, that they're willing to put that, you know, there and maintain it as well.
Can I give some feedback there, Chair, as well?
Yeah.
I was told that it's actually made such a difference having that court there to that basketball in Swansea has gone up. So it's a real positive. They can't handle all the youngsters now who want to play basketball simply because we put a court there. Although I am really angry at the amount of damage done. I used to be very anti having locked fences
Gates, yeah.
a gate, but I think at least if we do that with the basketball court and people have to book, we'll know who's doing the damage, because it's totally unfair. We've got one little hoop in Yalton. It's not a fraction as expensive, and yet it's used every night, I am told, and it's not been wrecked. So, you know,
Well, somebody went down there with tools and they managed to rip off the steel box that was around the winding mechanism. And it was a steel box put together with a really high grade padlock. They took tools down to rip that off.
which cost us how much?
I haven't been paid for that yet, actually. And then ripped off a bit of the wire fencing, ripped the fencing out to put in the hole to wind it up and down. So the vandalism down there is just beyond. I know we've got money to put new fencing up in a Newgate, but we seriously got to think about. I want to seriously think about whether we do reinvest in it, because if the people going down there, and it's got to be adults, it can't be kids.
I've heard it's
Who want
adults
to
doing that for their
vandalize
children.
the whole place.
Mm.
I think that's one issue. The second issue is, if people want a children's basketball, then I think in our next budget. Ian, is there a children's park in Newton where we could put a little person's basketball net? Is there such a space?
We could put it
Well, one was put in Highmead Park and it didn't last a fortnight. They broke the head off it.
So when was that put up then? In the last year or two?
Well, last year, yeah.
No, I know that's Highmead. Is there a space in the middle of Newton where people could go to? No, the common land where we've got the or is it common land where we've got the Christmas tree? Is that that's common land? So that's no good.
It's all common.
Is there another children's park in Newton apart from Highmead?
No, Newton's Park has always been Underhill.
Okay, Rhian, I can see. Sorry, hang on, Rhian.
I was just going to say, I think speaking to Kerry, she was going to make a contribution. She's done some work on this.
Yeah, I've got it here.
Oh, you've got this.
I was going to ask the committee if they've all received it.
Yeah, I'm waiting for Will actually on the LTA stuff.
Well, you've had the email, I'm sure, of Philip, have you? The Tennis Wales one from Kerry.
We're discussing basketball at the moment, not tennis. Rhian, do you want to come in?
No, but we're talking about.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Yeah, sorry, Ian, did I interrupt? Were you saying something now? Okay. Yeah, I am absolutely opposed to CCTV, but I've said this before that in Caswell Roundhouse area, they've got a sign saying there is CCTV. And I just wonder if that's, just the sign itself might be, a deterrent. Because if people think they're on camera and being watched, I hate the idea of CCTV, but maybe just the sign, I think is a good idea if it stops vandalism. Even though I'm wholly opposed to CCTV, I just think it's worth, considering to put a sign up. I know it's, deceitful and dishonest, but, I don't know. I think it's a good idea myself.
Okay.
I don't know what other people think, but
Yeah.
Yeah, what I was going to say, Chair, was that we have ordered new basketball hoops from the company that supplied them, and they've already, but they're I think it's going to be October or November before they get a delivery of them. But what we've also ordered is a tamper-proof kit for each basketball hoop. So it's something that fits over the fittings that's already on the hoop, to stop someone coming there with their own screwdriver or spanner and removing the hoop. So hopefully that will make it will be an improvement. And they are already in the office there. So as soon as the new hoops are in place, we can install those kits or get them to install the kits.
You mean removing the hoop or changing the winding mechanism?
No, what I understood was that the hoop was stolen because we didn't have this anti-tamper kit fitted to it when we first had them installed. They hadn't mentioned it actually, so it's not something that was overlooked. It was just we didn't know about it.
Okay, what if we put up a big sign from Mumbles Community Council saying to replace these hoops has cost us so many thousands of pounds. We will not be doing this again. If this happens again, we will be forced by vandalism to close the court. Is that an idea? So at least
you can put whatever sign you want up
to say, look, have you read this? If you continue to vandalise it, we lose the courts, and then perhaps take ownership of the site themselves.
But do they care though, Pam? Do they care about them being vandalised? Because the fact that they're being vandalised, do they care about them being, able to be used? I don't. I think it's a good idea. I think it's, something to, to think about. But I really like the idea about putting signs up saying you're being watched, you're on CCTV. I don't really like the idea, but I think it would be a huge deterrent. You go down to Castle Roundhouse, it's immaculate. There's no litter. Yeah, I mean, I know it's not ideal, but I think it's a solution. I really do. To put the signs up. Yeah.
I actually think, Chair, it's a good idea because from what I've gathered, it's been parents with smaller children trying to pull the hoop down themselves.
Oh, no.
So if they read that, they might be embarrassed into thinking, oh, well, we won't mess with it then. You can only...
Yeah, I think it's as far as we can go on this at the moment.
Castle Roundhouse is immaculate, and that's so isolated, and teenagers do go down there. There's no litter, there's nothing, I think it's a sad state of affairs that we should need to do that. Sorry.
Quick question, Chair, for Paul. Is one of those hoops to replace the damaged one up at Highmead? Or the missing...
I'm not aware of that. I thought it was only for Langland. I wasn't aware that the Highmead net had been damaged, or I wasn't aware it has been installed actually.
Yes, it was installed.
All right, okay.
Of course,
I think
still, but the group's not there.
And the backboard?
There's no backboard.
Oh.
There wasn't a backboard.
One thing you could do, Chair, if the committee wants, is to make a recommendation to council that signage is installed around the courts. You could have various signs as along the suggestions Rhian's making, or along the suggestions you made about future investment. So maybe a recommendation along those lines, if there's any funding available within the committee or possibly from contingency, would be the way forward.
Thank you, Paul. Can we take a vote on that? We put a recommendation to full council that when we install signs saying because of vandalism we will be installing CCTV and other signage to say how much it's costing us.
Security measures.
Security measures.
That's a coverall.
Security measures. Got that, Ian?
And perhaps a note of how much to date vandalism has cost.
Yes, I think so.
Taxpayers' money.
I would put money on
We put money on what?
it. Notices.
I think we have to be I agree with you actually, but I think
I've
we need
raised
to
this
Right.
I've raised this subject about signage on previous occasions,
Mm.
and it hasn't got anywhere.
But it has to
So it's ironic that it comes up now.
It's custom.
I think the idea of having some form of information, let's not say it's a warning, you're giving information that steps will be taken to mitigate vandalism. But
That's a nice phrase, Ian.
it's pretty obvious that,
It's
what's
pretty
been
obvious,
done
it's just one or two cases.
is malicious vandalism,
Yes,
but you don't want to take it out of proportion, because we're,
Well, that's why you never bring the basketball hoop down. You leave it high and you get people
But
to
we're
teach
not-
them to go high.
that's not the issue at the moment.
But we're
That's not the issue at the moment.
Yeah, we're not just talking about the basketball, we're talking about the.
The tennis courts as well.
Yeah.
Mm.
well, coming to the actual tennis court, we are in communication, or the clerk is in communication with Tennis Wales.
Do you want to leave that until we'll get Shane and have the big discussion when he arrives, because he can give us more information on that?
Well, we've all had the email.
Should we move on?
We've all had the email.
But then if we discuss it now and then Will arrives and he's got something else to say, we'll have to go back over it and we discuss the Jewish again. I'd like to move on for the moment, please. Is that all right? We'll wait for Will to arrive and we do that properly then.
Okay.
Budget monitoring report. Paul?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I apologise to the ones who were at the meeting on Monday, but you will have heard this before. But I'm going around all committees to talk about budget monitoring. The reason for it is that Steve, when he did my appraisal last year, put one of my objectives as to increase councillors' awareness of financial issues, including budget monitoring. So this is really the first time I've had a chance to attend committees in this role. So that's the reason for it.
You?
The reasons for budget monitoring is every January the council sets its budget and it allocates an amount of money to each committee to spend, and it's the responsibility of that committee to spend that budget. And budget monitoring is a very simple definition of it, which is to identify significant variances from reports and to take action to rectify those issues. But I think the reason why this was raised initially was that I know that on agendas the finance report tends to be quite late on, and it does tend to gets nodded through. There's no questions, there's no queries. I'm sure I've heard some councillors say, "Oh, Paul will look after that for us," which I will, but it is the committee's responsibility. So budget monitoring reports are done every month from June onwards, and what gets sent is a budget monitoring report which compares the expenditure to date with the budget for the year. I'm not sure whether you want to share that screen, Ian, with the budget monitoring report.
Right, if I just go to the file, I should bring it up, shouldn't it?
If you go to share screen and find that file on your screen, you should be able to show put it up on the screen.
Is it September one, Paul?
Sorry?
Or is it the first one you sent me?
The first one, yeah.
Okay.
Great.
Oh, hang on, that's not right, sorry.
Yeah, that's it. Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Oh, God, I can't read that.
I can't read it. I've got my
I
glasses.
can read it online. Do you want it up on your screen then?
Yeah.
Have you got the actual report, Ian?
The one I've got.
If you open that first and then share screen. Or if you stop sharing, I can bring it up on mine.
Okay.
Right, you need to give me ability to share screen though, Ian.
Is it okay now?
Yeah, okay. Find it. No, why can't I find it on mine either?
Can you find it?
Yep, I think we're getting it.
You would have sent it to me in the last email on the list then. No, there's something different.
All right, okay. Can you all see that?
It's black, oh, yeah,
Yeah, that's better.
We have got it on, it has been sent to us.
Yeah, it has been, well, what I do is I send out the reports to the chair, then it gets circulated with the agenda, which I know Ian did. So this is the report. This is the budget monitor report. So what you've got there is expenditure, any income, and then a net. Year-end adjustments are any invoices which have been paid this year after the 1st of April, but in the accounts have been charged back to last year. So in effect, they take it out of this year's accounts. So if you look at Underhill Grant, there was 85,000 paid on, I think it was paid on the 1st of April, which should have been paid last year. So that's all been charged back to last year. So in effect, the net figure is just 375 for Underhill at the moment. And then you've got your budget, agreed budget for the year, and then you've got the net position, which will either be an under or an overspend. And I think what committee needs to do when they look at these reports every month is look at that column, because that's where the issues are. Is if you've got any underspends or if you've got any overspends. And really, what I would encourage everybody to do is to ask questions. Obviously, I won't be at every meeting, so that you can raise an action point to ask a question to me, and I can report back to the next meeting. So you've got there things where there's an overspend, like the skate park, which we're aware of. Some of it is due to skate park jam, which I will be reporting on when I've got a chance to catch up with the budget monitor to get everything up to date. There are other things on there which look as if there's an issue, because say the Underhill loan repayment is 97,000, but none of it's been spent yet. But the reason for that is that the payments are made at the end of September and the end of March. So, if there's any queries on that, I can answer those queries easily enough. You've also got 5,000 in for Mumbles Bowls Club, which I think was in last year and was carried forward. But I think that potentially that may be a question that could be asked. What's happening with that? I'm not aware of. I'm not certain that the final lease has been signed with Swansea Council yet, but that needs to be looked at, I think, because what the committee should be looking to do is spend the money that's in their budget, because obviously it's been raised from the taxpayers and it's been given to the committee to spend. So that's really what I'm encouraging everybody to do now, is to look at the budget monitor report and to raise any queries.
yeah. Sorry, Ian. I didn't see you, Phil.
The £5,000 for Mumbles Bowls Club was to be used in whatever way, really, once the community asset transfer had been done by City. But and they're dragging their heels on this. So we're going into the second year now. It was put in quite a while ago, Paul.
Yes, this is at least the second year, maybe longer.
Sorry, can I just pick up on what Ian just said there? Can we write to City and ask them about the progress?
It would certainly be worthwhile for the clerk to,
Do we have to recommend that, Paul, or can we just ask the clerk to write?
Yeah, I think that should be an action point. What each committee can do is raise action points. So I would say that what an action point for this meeting is that the situation with the community asset transfer is raised with Swansea Council to find out what's happening. Because I know they did have a cabinet meeting some time ago where they did agree to lots of transfers, and I thought the Bowls Green was included in that, but as well as the skate park. But I've not seen anything coming in on the Bowls Green. So yeah, it's an action for the clerk to raise with Swansea Council.
Phil.
So to go back to the point that I wanted to ask, which you touched upon, Paul, could you, as best as you can, explain the 40,596 net position to the negative?
Not at this stage, no, I can't, but I will be looking at it. What I suspected is that there was probably an underspend on the budget at the end of last financial year, so that will be a carry forward, which would need to be approved by council. It's one of the outstanding things I've got to do is to get a report to council to agree all the earmark reserves. So I suspect that is a earmark reserve which will be carried forward from last year's budget.
I'm interested in the Clondallow Puffin crossing 27,750. Why haven't we have we not been asked for that?
We have, and it's been paid either in July or August. So that's not a problem. When you get your July, I think it was paid in July. So when you get a July budget monitoring report, it should show that payment being made.
Okay, so that's okay there.
And I think
Right.
also for the disabled parking bays, we've paid for 2 of those as well. Again, either in July or August, so that'll show up in a future
Okay, so that's
future report.
all right. Thank you for that. Anybody else got any other comments? Have we discussed as much as we can here?
Yeah, I think so. If I just finish what I was going to say, Chair, there is also another report or 2 reports which I want to put up now. But there's a list of all expenditure transactions. So that column shows expenditure. The first one with figures. You'll have a report which shows you exactly what's made up of all those figures, and also the same for income. You'll get a report which shows you what the income is. So it's as I've said, the point is really, please look at these reports. A point was made by one of the councillors at the finance meeting on Monday was that maybe they should be a little bit earlier on the agenda, because if you've got a long meeting, it is quite easy then to just nod them through and not look at them in any depth. So maybe that's something that we can address in future.
Talk to you about our next meeting, certainly. So if you could book me in for that, that'd be very useful before our next meeting.
Okay, yeah, no problem. Okay,
That'd be the October meeting, won't it?
Yes, yeah, October will be the next meeting.
Okay. Are you on Zoom for that meeting? Yes. Or Teams. Or Teams. Thank you, Paul.
Okay.
2024-25. This is where I usually throw it out to you and say, come on guys, what do you want to do for next year? What I want to do is build a small basketball hoop court for youngsters and find somewhere to put it other than Langland tennis courts. Now you said that the Underhill Park is the play area for Newton, really, Oystermouth, Newton.
Well, I say that because Highmead was in the West Cross area.
So is there space? Sorry.
Boundaries have changed, and for city voting, Highmead area falls within the Newton area now. But for community council, it's still outside of it. So the only one that's with
is there room down Underhill to put a small basketball court for, say, the under-13s?
I wouldn't share. They still threaten us with moving the play park there. What? Well, you know,
That would be something for the Underhill
yeah, they'd have to do
working group
that.
to really
Yeah.
float, I would have thought.
Well, we can ask the Underhill Working Group to have a look at it then. Is there space there for a youngsters basketball shooting hoop?
Could we look to see if we could put something in by the skate park at the bottom, because that might be less contentious.
Well, if we got parents who take their kids to Langland who are vandalising the course in Langland, do you think they're going to take their kids as far as Llanderrow for just them to play basketball, or should we give them something in the Newton area that they can just go? No, I think something in the Newton area for youngsters. I'm thinking toddlers, but I'm thinking youngsters up to say 11 years old, where they think these people need a short hoop, and give them a short hoop, and then perhaps the vandalism down that on our basketball site in Langland as it is, I think might disappear.
You want to say something?
Go on then.
As far as when just after or during the pandemic, we were approached by the Swansea Storms wheelchair group, and they wanted an outside basketball court that they would be usable for them, and that would be better down the front. As for little hoops, I think parents can install those if they want them in their back gardens, but I know that from coaching they try and coach children with the full height, and even the wheelchair users use the full height basketball hoops. They don't bring them down to size.
That's what we were advised,
as they
we
told
told that
us.
consultation in the beginning.
And that way, if we get hoops that don't come down to size, they can't break them then because they are up there and there is no way they can bring them down.
My thinking is if they've got a toddler suit, then they use it and they won't vandalise the big one. I don't know if Rian was first or Phil, Rian?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. To go back to quickly what Sarah was saying, I think it's okay for us to have basketball hoops that don't, you know, accommodate all ages. I think it's okay to have things for slightly older children because there's so much for little ones with swings and the little, you know, climbing things that they have in play areas. I think that's okay personally. And the other thing is areas. I love the basketball hoops. I'm such a fan of the basketball hoops. So, do we have one at Fairwood Park?
Oh, we don't.
No. Well, maybe that's an option. What about Southend? Do we have one at Southend?
There's one at Yalton in West Cross.
There is one at Yalton, but you know, for I don't know, maybe some kids they go out playing on their own and it's too far to. Because they're cheap, aren't they? What they're about £4,000?
Even that for a basic.
Yeah.
I think considering what they give to the community, the youngsters, and they're you know they're there for a long time, aren't they? They're not a temporary thing. Well, obviously they are a temporary thing, but they're not short-lived. So what about Pickett's Mead in Newton? Did you say that's common land? You can't do anything on that.
No.
What we need is called Phil.
So I think there's no harm in asking the Underhill Working Group to talk to friends of Mumbles Parks and to MCA about whether or not it would be appropriate to put some form of basketball provision in Underhill. It's a no-brainer, you know, you know, in terms of let's ask.
Sorry, Chair, we were told, weren't we, by Jackie, not to put teen stuff too close to the little kids park because, yeah.
But I'm thinking it's not teens.
Again,
Okay.
going back to
No,
Rian's point,
yeah.
and that's Pam's point, let's start the conversation.
Yeah, no.
So in terms of the sort of the cross-border nature of Highmead, it would seem daft to not reinstall at least once the basketball net up there to see if we can, and then again, like we're doing at Langland, put a notice up saying if this gets vandalised, you know, this is being monitored basically. We don't know whether or not it's kids. That the point that I was going to come back to about Fairwood, previously many years ago about Yalton and other areas is that there are some bounced. Netball is a preferred thing, so it's always got to be a consultation with the immediate residents. And one of the things that's disliked down in Fairwood Park, although we are going back nearly 30 years here, was noise created by the skate ramp that was there 30 odd years back. Followed by the noise created by the basketball, which was so close to the back of the houses in Sweetbriar Lane. So again, if the community wants it, great, but we're going to need to do a little bit of asking around to see whether we can make sure that we choose the right space.
Which again is why
If we there as an action point, we ask the Underhill steering group to look into basketball.
I think Tim wants to say something.
I'm sorry, Tim, I didn't realise what you were doing. Sorry, Danny.
Sorry, I was just thinking, what about five-a-side football somewhere? That size-wise is also manageable and also suitable for different ages. One of my colleagues is doing a type of football that is not allowed to run. He's not allowed to run, so it's like walking football for a certain age, and then they play on that kind of pitch as well. So it's also quite less likely to be vandalized because the net isn't going to be very complicated. You don't really need a really net at the back. You know, just all you need is just that frame, and that would be all. That's all I was thinking of. Thank you.
Well, can I task you with finding out about that for us? Like what size court it is and where we find information on it. If you could bring that back, that would be very useful. And then we can try and budget for it in next year's budget. If you bring it to this committee, we can find a budget for it and try and find somewhere to build it and build it into next year's budget, ready to try and get it done in the spring.
I can investigate. Thank you.
Very much, Tim. Brilliant. You seem to know more about it than any of us. Phil.
Sorry, just for yourself, Chair. Tim, were you talking about outdoor facilities? Because of course we've got places like the community centre, and of course Underhill, when it's, you know, that could potentially host outdoor informal sort of things like five-a-side. Maybe, I don't know. I'm not au fait enough with that. So were you thinking specifically indoor or just casual opportunities outdoor?
Yeah, outdoor. But you know, the surface will be a issue because some places use artificial turf, which might not be very friendly, environmentally friendly. But you know, we can always investigate further.
Thank you. Paul?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Before you talk about any other suggestions, can I talk a little bit about the timetable for the budget for next year?
Yeah.
In the past, we've had a special meeting right at the end of January to agree the budget. Last year, it went right to the wire. It was actually on the 31st of January, and we had to provide our precept and budget figure to Swansea Council on the 31st of January, which did work, but it was a little bit tight. So what I would like to do is to get the budget agreed at the scheduled January council meeting, which is on the 9th of January next year.
We need to agree at the latest in December then.
Well, a little bit earlier than that, as I was going to suggest, Chair. That leaves, what that means is that you've got this month, you've got next month, and you've got November. December is, there's unlikely to be a scheduled meeting in December because of the Christmas periods. You know, committees are in the 3rd and 4th week of the month. You could have a meeting early in December to allow
Committee. Yeah.
Yeah, you need the budget that each committee recommends to council must be approved by the committee. So you must have a committee which approves the budget which is recommended to council. So that, as far as I can see, that would either be November or a meeting early in December, which would allow it to go to the scheduled council meeting on the 9th of January. The other option is that meetings are held early in January, but then the council, you'd have to have a special council meeting then towards the end of January, which has been done. But what I'm trying to do is to avoid that this year, if possible. So anything that you need to put forward really should be agreed and finalised in November, if possible. And the other thing I'm going to do is circulate a form, probably Friday, which is the budget proposal form. So any new items the committee wishes to put forward, or any increases in existing budgets, significant increases in existing budgets, not necessarily just inflation, but just something completely new, then that one of those forms needs to be completed. And again, another thing which I think is very useful is, I think a year before last, we had a budget scrutiny meeting in December, where any new proposals put forward, the chairs of each committee or the councillor who proposed the budget spoke to the, you know, given a period of time, short period of time to deliver their proposal to council. Councillors can ask that questions on it. So when we do come to the budget meeting in January, then they're much more, you're all much more informed on what each budget proposal is. So that's really what that's the timetable I'm looking for. So preferably November or early December. And then that would allow us to have our budget meeting on the 9th of January rather than later in the month.
An action point I'd like to put forward, if we agree, is that we ask our clerk to write to Swansea City Council and ask if we can have court for alignment. Because that's what we need. We need court 4, put a netball hoops up or smaller basketball hoops, and we'd fill the place. I know we've tried, and I know Rebecca and Carrie tried when she was chair, and we were told, no, you can't have them. It's another year. We could have been leasing those for a year and had a year's worth. They would have had a year's worth of lease money from them. You know, it's a no-win, no-lose situation for them. So is it all right if I ask the clerk to write on our behalf?
Yeah.
Is that all right? Everybody agreed with that, please?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Did you want to come back, Phil?
Yeah, I was actually going to ask Paul and Ian just to chip in, because we had this discussion on Monday at Ian's chairing the finance group, and I think we worked out a little timetable for finance, didn't you, to get this through on the basis of the fact we don't want special meetings in January really, and we wanted to try and get everything sorted for Christmas really, didn't we?
Yes.
Well, it's up to this committee to bring to this committee any things, any projects that you would like to see put forward for next year. So near now and next meeting, and what?
Yeah, my proposal is that we do that by the next meeting, in order for us to have an early December.
I was about to say, if you, Ian, could write to members of this committee and say that by our October meeting, they need to bring to this committee any ideas for projects that they would like seen in next year's budget, with as much information as possible as they have about them. And then give us a month to 6 weeks to try to price them up if they need pricing. Mine is certainly to get a miniature basketball put up somewhere in Newton to get all the mothers and kids up there rather than down on
Probably
that
find
land.
it gets wrecked even faster.
Well, it's fine if they do it, that's their own fault, they won't have another one.
Yeah, I think the budget proposal for when that comes out, that'll be your prompt then to do that sort of information gathering. And probably the other thing you should do is have a look at your existing budget to see if there's any things on there which you want to repeat next year. Maybe things like the disabled parking bays. Maybe that's something that that the committee would like to promote in, you know, over a number of years rather than just in the current year.
Okay.
Chair, if we could put it down for the jam, for the skate park jam again.
Well, yeah, that's great. When are these budget proposals forms going to be available to councillors?
I sent it to Kerry to have a look at, and I'm hoping that we can finalise it tomorrow, and I'll be able to circulate it either late tomorrow or on Friday.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you.
Again, I just picking up from something that was mentioned on Monday. I think to be added to that form is a little box on whether or not it will have an impact on the staff hours, if I remember rightly.
Yeah, that's right, Phil.
And that's going to be important going forward to make sure that any adopted project is allocated and obviously financed to staff, as it were, staff hours to be able to complete. So that's something important that needs to be thought of in terms of what future projects and how that's going to be carried out by our staff on behalf of the committee.
Okay, thank you. That's going well. Other projects you got there?
Well, following on from what Rhian was saying, I think a lot of activities that are aimed at not little kids, because they're covered with all the parks. I'd say the 8 till 18 or older bracket is good, because it allows them to grow and be physically active when they can start to not be active, especially when they get to secondary school and they're told that they're not as good at football as they thought they were and various other things. So it would be things like a really adventurous climbing wall chair or something we could put in that's access that even adults wouldn't mind using.
As a permanent feature?
As a permanent feature, not like the ones we hire, but something that
With just that, we need to get, we need to get planning permission. So yeah, the sooner we get ahead with that, the better.
Yeah, and I still think a basketball court or at least a runner down the front would be good.
What do we need down the front? Okay. Ian.
Where are you proposing to do those facilities?
I would say the best place would be near the skate park, on the grounds that it will cause the least bother with noise. The police the skate park very well, so any added activities there will make it easier for the police to keep an eye on youngsters, so they're not going all over the place.
I think, in my view, this is mission creep. Now, you've had your skate park, and it would appear to be functioning very well. You're now looking for funding to put in these other facilities, basketball hoops, which have proved very unproductive. The investment at Langland. Now, not to say that it's going to be the same down at the front.
No, I think that people will see them there.
I really, where is it going to end? Are you going to want a Ferris wheel? And make it a bit like Fourth Court?
No, I'm sorry, let's keep this being realistic, don't even have to give it a second. Hang on, please. If we want to develop one, we want to keep, we've had such enormous feedback from the skate park and from the basketball that the youngsters are getting out of the house, they're enjoying themselves, the generations, old people take a walk along the front, I'm older even than me, and like to sit at the skate park and just watch what the kids are doing. It's proved itself time and time again. And so if we want to keep trying to get our people out of the house and in the park, then we've got to give them somewhere to go and something to do.
The other thing is,
Excuse me.
I did ask
I've got my hand up some time now.
She was halfway through a talk and I shut her. You come back and then I go to them.
Okay, so.
No, she comes back and then we come to you.
okay, I'll keep it as short as I can. The good thing about I see what you mean, Ian, but the good thing about that area is, as I said, it's easier to police. It's also good on the grounds if we're aiming it at comprehensive kids, they can meet their friends who are coming the other way along the Mumbles Road. They can. It's a good place that's not part of a particular area. It's like a no man's land, and people can see it from the road and the sea path, which means there's less crime because it's seen. So I don't know if there'll be as much damage to the basketball hoop. We could try with a run up first and see.
I'd like to allow Ian to come back on that for a moment, please.
No, each individual is in a position to put forward their own proposals, and
I got to tell you, I won't be back in a bit.
and then they can be taken forward if that's what the vote is.
I understand where Ian's coming from with this, and realistically speaking, if that area, which is now leased by Mumbles Community Council, is to be developed further, then Mumbles Community Council really needs to be asking the community what they would like there.
Of course.
And if the community say, no, let's keep it as it is, we should be listening to them in exactly, in that manner. What I will say is obviously just along the way at Blackpill, there are increased opportunities there for things like climbing and play there. So I just wanted to come back and say that, we should be going back to community and saying where. I think the wider point is that if you want to have more non-team, non-competitive individual play or challenge, so for example, things like climbing facilities or like a climbing wall or some other form of play that doesn't mean having to have 5 other people to make it. As much as I approve of 5-a-side football, one person could go and use a hoop.
Well, yes.
Or 10 people can go and use a hoop,
Or it could be used for people.
But then let's go back to the community and ask them
Definitely, we
what
go around.
they want and where.
We do it all, like we did for the skate park. We wouldn't go doing that unless we had other feedback.
So my proposal would be, whilst it would be great to set a budget aside for that, perhaps we should be setting a budget aside for
Finding out.
further consultation during this
Definitely.
year, or the next financial year to then plan ahead for.
Yeah. I'd be quite happy with a climbing wall that now someone has said it up at Black Hill, because then we'd be giving something to males, and it's not very often we give things to males.
Well,
I think we should try it.
the skate parks in Wales.
That's not good.
And just as an afterthought, Ian, if it is common land up there, I don't know what the commoners would agree to or not agree to, or what edicts and regulations there are on that land.
On Picket Mead.
Oh, on any common land. I'm not particularly picking on
Well,
Picket Mead.
I
I'm just
don't think
saying,
it's a good, I don't think it's a good time to.
maybe not.
No, there's nothing wrong with what you say. It's not a good time to interfere with common land at the moment, because there's so many other things going on with regards to proposed developments. You know, we have got a carbon sinkhole.
Enough said.
Mulberry Avenue there,
Yeah.
and Chestnut Avenue there.
We shouldn't go
And,
too much further, otherwise somebody might have to leave the room.
You know, there's 1,000 years of stuff there, and they want to build on it. It's absolutely ludicrous. They want to do a land swap. They haven't.
Okay, we're not going down that road. We're not going down it.
No,
we're not allowed to talk.
I've been involved in it.
I don't know the area. Is there anywhere around Newton School that we could put a basketball court? I don't know that area at all. Any fields next to Newton School that we could put something on?
Well, if you remember, Grange School were quite willing to put a basketball court, 2 basketball courts on their playground.
Yes,
But whether they did say.
No, they got
They did.
Yeah.
Are they open?
Is it, I don't know the layout. Could it be amenable to having us approaching them to see if they have a miniature basketball
Well,
court?
first and foremost, you have to clarify whether you can gain access
That's what I'm asking.
to the facility. Now, I'm not too sure what the access facility is at Grange. I don't think it's as open, cut and dried, go and play there anytime, because City don't want it. City won't insure anyone to do it. If it's an organized thing, it's done through a group, whether it's netball, basketball, or anything else, that's slightly different. But opening up the gates of the school to the general
I
public.
just wondered whether there was a
City-
field next to it or a patch of land we could try and commandeer.
Well, Newton School has playing fields, just as Grange School has, but
We want to
School.
leave them
the
as.
city isn't going to permit that. And anyway, if you look at the terms which will be sent out very soon of requirements on grant applications, the clerk is very much against money is going to schools because it's double taxation. I have explained to her that I have objected to a number of things at schools in the past, but the vote has always been carried. through.
I was wondering, as I
So-
looked at the lake, is there something like a big grass verge next to the school, which wouldn't be school land, but would be next to the school and would be sort of up there? I got about water. Can anyone think of any way that we could ask the council to put up a small basketball and things like that?
May I make a suggestion, Pam, is that actually we have a committee field trip around around the area, and perhaps actually we can identify sites for community and social where we could actually sort of be going to the community and asking them. Ian.
Well, surely the ideal place is Highmead Park. You know, that's already there. You know, there's a green there, a large green space. But when you start talking about basketball and you're laying a hard standing with it and a backboard, that's when you encounter the problems, because the residents don't want it. We've done that consultation.
They didn't want the skate park, they're quite happy with it now.
Yeah, but we knew with the skate park that the noise problem wouldn't be a problem there, and it's the noise that irritates people.
I think our best bet is going to be trying to get one in Dunderhill.
Yes.
I beg your pardon, Ian. Ria,
Oh, yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, what about Castle Acre? Excuse me.
where on Castle Acre?
What's the field there?
Well, obviously away from the houses.
Designated village green, but that hasn't stopped development in Westcroft.
Because we had a play park. We could try it, the drainage is very good there. The drainage is the only problem there. It's like a mire when it's, so it acts as a natural sinkhole. So
It's a brilliant idea, apart from the drainage.
apart from the drainage.
And we would need to consult our environmental officer regarding,
Run it past Lydia
Yeah.
as well.
because there's, obviously, it's right next to the nature reserve there.
And she could say a green's a green, is a green, but
But it's not a bad idea. We use that for the fun days, don't we?
yeah. And we could, and to be honest, the people there might say, well, it's good if you've got a play area, an actual play area there. You know, there's less likely in the future for them to say, oh, we'll remove the play area and put a road through it or something, isn't it? It could be there, yeah.
Can I task you with having a look around your patches and finding us a bit of land that we might be able to put something on and bring it back to the next meeting?
Can I suggest that we invite all councillors to
Absolutely, what a good idea. What a good idea.
the action map, Chair?
Yes.
And email out to all councillors to identify,
Any land on their patch where we might set up a small basketball court
or,
or walking football or whatever.
but I think, and I'll go back to it and I'll say it again, consultation with public,
It's
so
everything.
it's everything. So again, it's what the community around that area would like.
Well, on Castle Acre, they will just say no, because we fought us in there to even put benches on there.
We don't,
Yes, we do, because we did it.
Yeah, you did it, but the point is, my concern would be, it's the bouncing of the ball against a hard surface and backs of
And the back.
houses. And the backboard, it irritates people, you're just waiting for the next ball to be, I speak as a parent whose sons all play basketball, and the noise is.
hey, look, kids will find ways
We need for at Langland.
potentially. But again, a consultation to identify all the sites and what is wanted where will serve the purpose, hopefully, of identifying that the community want Langland Court for.
Yeah, it's true. If we have the information.
I can
go-
see Ian's frustration here, sorry, Ian, because I
In
know how long
2017
you've been asked.
2017, I've been involved in Ireland. And it's been a
Well,
total disaster.
okay,
We're not going back 24 will be the year.
Tim?
Yes, I just have a comment to make. If we have problems with vandalism in London, you know, basketball courts and tennis courts, those are, you know, full-sized courts that we still haven't really managed to contain the problems. For those little hoops, I think we are really looking for trouble in the long run because they are much lower and more likely to be damaged.
Slam dunk.
That's just my concern, really.
It's point well made. I'm just trying to try and offer something rather than offering nothing. We're going round in circles now,
Yeah, we are.
time's going on. Is there anything else that anybody else wants to bring up? I know there's not any other business on the agenda, but have we missed anything?
Only that perhaps before we go back to the missed points on the agenda, Chair, that we put the action point in to decide a December date for committee. Because otherwise we will be 2 days after the normal scheduled date, which would put us up to the 20th of December, something like that.
You would agree to be one.
December, that's correct, yes.
I would be here.
Exactly.
Even if I'm here, I'll be here.
My point being is that perhaps we need to,
Well, look at your diaries and look at your diaries next time we're setting a date in December. Look at your diaries.
perhaps we need to go for the 13th.
We can do some.
I would prefer to stand further back in 30. Right, landing fencing. I don't know what we're going to say about it. Or what decision you want to make about that. Can we come back to that?
Yeah.
I don't think we can do anything at the moment, until we hear a bit more back from the clerk. And full council as what's to be done about the, the locking of the gate at Langland.
This won't go to full council, it's got to come back to committee.
I was going to say, is there an opportunity for us to have, once Kerry is available, yeah? Is there an opportunity between now and the next full council to have a mini meeting just to discuss?
We'll ask Kerry.
We can have a
We'll ask
special
Kerry.
meeting. I don't
A special committee meeting.
have a problem with that.
Are you up for that? You to ask when Kerry's available to say, can she fit us in sometime for just an extra committee meeting, say half an hour, so we can discuss this and have something ready for next month?
Because I have,
Can we have an action point, please? Ian, to ask Kerry to fit us in for a special meeting just to discuss land and tennis courts and nothing else. Thank you, Ian. Okay. Is that it, everyone?
Just to clarify, we're deciding December date of the next meeting, is that correct? Or are we deciding it now?
No, we're going to ask, people are going to look in their diaries
Okay.
and see what we want.
Sorry.
I would go for the first or second week at the latest.
I'd say first, because everybody gets really busy.
Yeah.
that would be fine.
Well, there'll be school parties and things that I know you've got younger children who might be involved in that you want to sort out. Yes. Okay, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Good old chat and catch up. Thank you very much.
Also
Thank you,
report.
Paul. Thanks, guys.
Okay, thanks all. Bye.
Cheerio.
Bye, guys.
Oh, that wasn't-